da 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 da.
We're
Tequila.
live.
Jack Daniels. Da, 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 da. It's that kind of morning. Welcome to the empathic revolution. Super fun morning. Okay. I'm trying to share this out over my social media. And so,
Okay.
yeah, this is so fun. I'm so excited to be here. So excited to be here, you guys. As we're getting on, it looks like we are
Yeah, we're live. Yeah,
live.
yeah.
We are live. Welcome, everybody. I'm Kat Udarro, and I welcome. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm not. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. That multiple personality thing messes me up. And I hope everybody is having a great morning. We are here. And I am Michele Amburgey. I am the awakener, and I welcome everybody here to Third Eye Salon. I have taken over. I am now the new boss and overlord of Third Eye Salon, and I will be the one running the show by myself. I don't need anybody else. So you can all be dismissed now. I don't need you. Um, Kat, you knew you were in trouble when you asked me to do this. Welcome, everybody. I am just kidding. I'm really just a unicorn, and we're very nice. And so I welcome you guys. This is super fun, and I want to say thank you so much for Kat for asking me to come on and to be a part of this amazing group of people here. I mean, you guys know how amazing Linda is and Jillian is and Kat is, and I'm super honored to be able to be here and be a part of this. Kat had asked me if I would step in and work with him today and do his interview. And so I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. So I said, okay. I said, but batten down the hatches because I don't know what might happen. And so thank you so much, Linda. You are so amazing. You're a psychic and a conscious business coach. You bless people in so many ways, and you run this show like a pro, and it's absolutely amazing. You amaze me the way you handle the tech and the people and everything, and it's so fun. So thank you for letting me be here with you guys. And
Thank
sweet
you.
Jillian, little angel, our little ET. And she's also like into the OBEs, out of body experiences, and just a super connected person. And so, Jillian, thank you for letting me come in and kind of step in and be a part of the gang here this morning. So I'm
Well,
so
thank you.
appreciative.
Thank you for coming in. It's so exciting to, hear about Kat, learn more about him, and to, of course, be sitting here with you and Linda.
Awesome. Thank you. This is so much fun. And then I am Michele Amburgey. I am the awakener. And I have been on the show a couple of times, and we've just had so much fun. And these beautiful people here. It's so easy to be able to feel welcome and loved, and really be able to be open and to express yourself. And so that is what I am hoping to be able to do for Kat today, and to be able to be that space where he can open up and let us know all about Kat Udarro, the mystery man, the man behind the man. And we'll see. We'll see. So today we're looking between the veils of the empath, the empathic revolution. Um, Kat and I have talked quite extensively about what it is to be an empath, what it is to be a part of this shift of ages, this evolution of humanity, where the empath is rising. And it's interesting because I've often thought, are empaths like people that do something, or is it an energy that comes up through us? And it was actually something I was thinking about this morning. It's like, is that empath? Is it a consciousness of itself? And so, Kat, I'm actually going to spring a little new idea on you as we get get moving along. Linda's going to be chatting with you on live stream. She's going to be holding down the tent pegs while we're doing all of this. And she's what we call our bouncer. She's the one that's making sure everything's going smooth behind the scenes. And so what we can do is, if you would share with your friends and your peoples and let them know that we're on, so that we can reach as many people as possible. You can join the Third Eye Salon Facebook group, and you can also buy Third Eye a virtual coffee. So be sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know that we come on. The Third Eye Salon brings you a show every Saturday morning, and every single one is spectacular. When I found these people, my Saturday mornings have changed. And I know that I'm going to have a wonderful, fun morning starting my weekend. And so this is really cool. So again, thank you, all you guys, Linda, Jillian, Kat, this Michelle chick, who thinks she's a unicorn. I don't know what the deal is, but let's talk about Kat. Let's see what's about with him. I got all my papers here because he is quite the creature. I call him my friend, my mystical creature friend. And so Kat Udarro, I'm going to read his official bio, and I'm going to read it off a piece of paper so I don't miss anything, because he is such a beautifully complex human, and human star being human, beautiful, angelic human. And so I want to read his bio as it's written, and then we'll get into the free flowing, the freewheeling, the off-roading. Kat Udarro is an empath, and I will verify that. He's also an entrepreneur, and he's a psychic wrangler for the podcast Third Eye Salon. He has spent decades informally researching everything from near-death experiences to ET encounters to Sasquatch. Woo! Love the Sasquatch and beyond. Third Eye Salon gives Kat the opportunity to explore these subjects with his guests and his co-hosts, while using his empathic gifts to unfold the deeper connections behind these hidden realities. Kat uses his abilities to support others in owning their natural gifts. And I will again say, yes, he does. And he helps them in owning their natural gifts and claiming their inherent divinity and loving themselves just a little bit more. He loves watching other psychics, empaths, and healers embrace their authentic power and takes their rightful place in the world. Kat enjoys co-creating a space for our psychic spiritual community to connect, grow, heal into a state of oneness. And so, Kat, welcome to my show. I'm so grateful for you to be here.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. What a blessing to be on your show.
Well, I had to think long and hard before I allowed you on. I had to go to my guides, had to do the do. This is so cool, Kat. Tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words for a moment, and then we'll get into what we're going to talk about, because we've got a lot to cover and we don't have a day or two to do it.
Well, what would you like to know, Michelle? There's much I can say. What would you like me to?
Well, tell us about how you came to how Third Eye Salon came to you. How did this come up through you? Just real quick.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, I mean, it was one of those things where watching other people's podcasts and shows, there was always that desire. I think everyone goes through this where you're like, oh, I want to ask this question. I wish they would ask this question. And so I actually originally had a radio show, a briefly lived radio show, because my life had to implode for a little bit, which that was fun. But back in 2014, I lived in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I had a radio show with a local radio station, kind of like this in a way, but not as nice as this one is. That's for sure. I was doing everything myself, and it was just a very solo experience. And I was having been an entrepreneur, I was just tired of working alone. So there was just a lot of life growth from 2014 to 2020, when we started the show, August 2020. So there's a lot of growth, a lot of like taking back my power, taking back my loving and appreciating myself and getting off my back. It was like I was doing this thing where I wanted external validation so I could feel good. And the universe had to be like, stop doing that. It's not going to work. And I had to go through this process of being able to do small steps and appreciate what I was creating, as opposed to looking for something to happen so I could finally feel good. And when it came to doing this podcast, I'm an entrepreneur, so I do little dabblings on the side, helping people with marketing and whatnot, and marketing funnels and things like that. And I wanted to, well, one of the things I kept saying to other people was, you need to have a podcast. You should have a podcast. And I was like, Kat, you don't have a like, you're telling people to do things you're not doing yourself. Like, stop it. You can't do that. So you have to have your own podcast. And, my bestie, Linda, I really wanted to see her on a podcast as well. And it was like, well, let's do it together. If we do it together, then we can have fun with it. We can co-create it together. And our whole approach was, this is going to be fun. We're going to get things wrong. We're going to fail forward. It's going to be okay. We're not going to push for perfection. We're going to have an experience. And because we were operating from that like heart space, as opposed to a business space, like creating a business, but creating a business from your heart, that's been the foundation. And then I just finally got to have talk with people like you and have these conversations that like, oh, I get to talk to these people. I'm not just watching, I get to like pick their brains and tune in with them and go on journeys with them. And it's been one of the best things I've ever done. I love the show. And then of course we found Jillian along the way, because she was always so engaged and like asking questions and, just so lively in all of our, conversations about Third Eye, that it was like, get in here and be part of our team, because we love your heart. And then she ends up being like one of the most experienced, like out of the world experienced people that we've had on the show in terms of her OBEs and ET encounters and things like that. So yeah, it's been a gift that keeps giving back to me every week, for sure.
Oh, and Kat, it is a gift that gives to so many. I'm going to say this is the best podcast I've ever watched. And then being on it with you guys, being interviewed, the way that you guys operate, the space that you hold is beyond. It is beyond. You allow people to really open up. You got me to talk about stuff that I hadn't talked about or ever, and it's like you get in there and you're like, I see a little thread and you just pull it, and it's a gift. It is a gift. You're truly, truly gifted in this. And I just really want people through this podcast to understand how magnificent of a being you are. You are mystical. You are magical. You are beautiful. You're intelligent. And get your face up here and let us see it, because you are amazing. And that is my goal, my intention for being here today, is to really get people to understand how amazing you are, because you're so humble on top of it all. And that's what makes it so beautiful.
Wow. Thank you. That's a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. There you go. Bam. So let's get started. Kat, you and I have had a lot of conversations about a lot of things. We've gone out in space. We've connected with star people. We've had psychic experiences. It has been a trip, but it always comes back to the concept of the empath and being empathic and what that is. And so I want to ask you, because we've had so many conversations, and because the empath is such a huge topic, a huge subject that people are talking about, because most people have an empathic quality already. Human beings, we have empathy, but being an empath is a little bit different. So would you tell us just a little bit about what the word empath means to you? When you say the word empath, when you talk about that, what are you talking about?
Okay, so for me, an empath is somebody that feels with the world. And it is a ability to tap into the emotional state of an animal a person, the mood of the planet, a tree. You know, it's the thing of being able to connect on an emotional level and read the emotion as information. And I feel like
Mm.
it's something that you know, in our talking, Michelle, like, you know, we talked about the whole thing with the empath is like, hi, I'm an empath. I hurt all the time. I feel everyone's pain. Hi, empath. Like, you know, it's like the support group where we're, you know, the story is that we're suffering through the pain of the world. And there's a gift with empathy that I think is the part that's a part of the empathic revolution, is that there's a part two to this story where we're not just here to feel the pain, but we're here to transmute it. Well, how do we do that? That's the revolution. That's the thing of, that's the part two. That's, to me, that's Jesus's heart. Like, I love Jesus. I'm not Christian, but I'm also not Buddhist, and I love Buddha. You know, like I love these beings because they are who they are. And to me, like, when I connect into Jesus, he's like the ultimate empath because he takes people's pain and transmutes it through his heart, and he allows it to burn up in that unconditional love that he is. And there's no judgment, there's no accusation. It's just this thing of saying, okay, you were suffering, you felt alone, you felt broken, I love you, let's reconnect you to source. And that is my driving thing, is because I have felt so disconnected in this lifetime. I have felt so alone. I have felt so abandoned, all my stories and all my drama. You know, the wound that we carry is the medicine bag that we want to give to the world. Like, that wound transforms as you deal with your wound and transmute it. It becomes your medicine bag where you can pull out of it and then offer that healing to the world. And I'm just built this way. I so badly want people to know that they're loved. I so badly want that. And that's part of, you know, that's the heart of being an empath for me personally.
Wow. What a beautiful expression of that. And it really is the empath, because we feel so much and feel so deeply. And I love how you come to this where it's like, yes, we feel, ow, it hurts. Is it ever going to stop? But there's a phase two, and it's that transmutation. It's transmuting that energy. And what a beautiful I just want to say, like a consciousness coming up through that place of the empath, because what you're saying is, it's not just like, ow, it hurts and there we are.
That's the end.
There's a purpose, and there's a purpose for the empath
Right.
that's here. That is amazing. That is amazing. You know, Kat, you have had a lot in your life. You've had ups, you've had downs, you've had diagonals, you've had all kinds of stuff all over the place. Can you talk to us for a minute and just tell us a little bit about some of your awakening experiences? Because I know that you've had several, we've talked about it, and I think a lot of people do. And part of the reason I'm bringing this up, Kat, is because a lot of times we've kind of had awakening experiences where the light's gone on a little bit more, where we're like, oh wow, that was amazing. But then as we move past it, it kind of dissipates a little bit.
Yeah.
Then we have another one. And I think it's important for people to understand that you don't just awaken and voila, there you are. So
Right.
will you talk to us about your awakening path?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that comes to mind specifically, because I grew up Christian, and so there were times, you know, within Christianity, I had awakenings as well. Like, I remember going to, if there's any recovering Christians in the audience that are around my age, you may remember a musician called Keith Green. And I went to one of his concerts, and they do an altar call at the end of the concert, right? And so I'm already a Christian, but like, this altar call thing is like a moment of like, it's just a deeper, richer, like, this thing of being like compelled to like walk down this aisle and receive the blessing of Jesus, the love of God. And, you know, like you're saying, so I walk down and I have this experience, and like the next day, and so that night and the next day, I'm just, you know, it's euphoria. There's a spiritual high. And then what they don't tell you is that there's a spiritual crash. Like, as high as you go, then there's also a crash after that. And so I had that crash, and it's so disillusioning because it's like, oh, but I thought I had it. I thought I was it. I thought I was living it. And it's just part of the equilibrium, the pendulum swinging back. And so there's this spiritual awakening within the continuum of Christianity, of my experience of a Christian. And then there was a breakdown and breakthrough at a certain point when I went off to college and was like, I believe all of these things, but I don't actually know if this is true. Like, I don't know, I don't know if Jesus died for our sins. I have no way to, verify that. And it became this thing of like, these are beliefs. That's all these are beliefs. And I had to kind of go through this disillusionment, but also a liberation, because it gave me freedom to be the rest of me, which was gay, like a gay young man in a Christian environment in the early, well, I guess the late 80s. And so that whole thing of that painful journey of like, how can I be gay and be Christian? This is against this religion. So there was, shedding that that belief system and learning that, there's this whole metaphysical experience that I could go into where there was not that judgment, there was not that shame. And that's kind of where the journey took me then to next, going to I'd moved to Southern California. I was living in Southern California. I grew up in Iowa. I grew up in a farm in Iowa. I moved to Southern California. So it was like, life was like, I'm going to kick your ass every day until you get your feet on the ground and own your power. So yeah, living in Southern California, that was like that was a grand, like, awakening in many areas, because I got connected to two other fellows at a certain point. And I'm really kind of skipping through the book really quick in terms of my history. But like, I met two other fellows. One was like 36 and the other was like in his early 20s, around my age. And that really formed kind of the spiritual trine, where the older guy, 36 older, which I'm much older than that now, but like, he was kind of our mentor in a lot of ways. Well, yeah, he was really our mentor because he was psychic and he was able to do things like it, but he was very loving. He was very heart-centered, and there just wasn't any ego. And we were all three gay. So it was like, we all had this thing in common. We're all gay. We're all having a spiritual awakening. And then the other guy that was my age, he was reading the Course in Miracles, which is really about stripping down your ego and bringing you back to source in a way that it's like undeniable, but it really grounded him in a lot of ways as well. However, to get to the point of the awakening moment, him and I, the guy that was around my age, we're driving around, and also we have Sister Cannabis is our friend at this time, because this is kind of really more where I discovered cannabis. And we are parked, like we're having these conversations, and like, for anybody who hangs out with Sister Cannabis, you start to talk with somebody and you go deeper and deeper and you just start to unravel things. It's also a part of being psychic and empathic. You just, like, you're thinking about something and the door pops open and you go through that door and another door pops open and you start to unravel like the fabric of reality that we're living in. And so at one point we're hanging out in the car. I can remember this part of it because it was a few years ago, just a couple years ago. But we're hanging out in the car and I have this rebirth of my higher self coming into my body. And it's like, all of a sudden that part of me is back. And I'm crying and I'm sobbing and I'm saying, I'm back and there's nothing anyone can do. I'm back. Like, I'm back now. Like, you can't take this away from me. I'm back in this incarnation. I'm back in this life. And it was a huge thing of like, oh my God, this is who I am. That part of me just integrated into my body, into my being. And who is that? Who am I? This part that burst through me and was able to finally get this body, be alive in this incarnation. So that's what I know about that. There may have been other things that were downloaded in that, but it was a huge moment of awakening in terms of reconnecting to my truer or higher self. I'll say that.
Wow, that is amazing. So how old were you when that happened? You said early 20s?
Yeah, I was probably like 22 or 23 maybe.
Wow, when you really had that divine connection where you really connected into to that higher self of yours. That's amazing. Sister Cannabis, I call her Annabelle Cannabis.
Annabelle Cannabis.
Annabelle Cannabis.
Why Annabelle?
I know. I don't
I
know where
love
they,
it.
but she is really a beautiful portal
Yeah.
and tool for people to use. And it was funny because I know we were all kind of nodding our heads, not to be tattling, but yeah, it really is. Plant medicine is very, very powerful.
It's plant
And I
medicine.
love that you talk about using it in a beautiful way like that. And from that, because and I know you honor that plant medicine so much. I know we've talked about it too. And it's kind of neat. Do you feel that your connection to that plant medicine may have really started when this happened, when you had this awakening? Was there maybe a more sacred approach to that from this?
Well, the first time, I'll tell you, the first time I smoked cannabis was when I was still within this. I had left the Christian college, but there was a guy there who really kind of had a messiah complex, and but he was like, I've had many mentors along the way, and sometimes you learn from your mentor's shadows. Like, your mentors aren't just teaching you from their light, but they're also teaching you from their shadow. And so even though he had this Christ complex, like, he was the first person where I smoked cannabis with. And the first time I didn't really feel it. The second time I smoked it, it was a completely different experience. The whole thing of, like, you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like falling into the mirror, looking at your skin, looking at your pores, being at Taco Bell and being pushed up against, like, pushing myself up against the window, and like my energy is soaring out into, like, I can just feel my energy going out into the city. And I've never had those experiences before, right? Like, the most experience I had growing up, like, metaphysical, I remember just, like, being in 7th grade math, and all of a sudden I knew my name wasn't what my name was. I knew I wasn't who this person was. It was just this sense of, like, I'm somebody greater. So like, my life is like, like many of us, we all have these little, like, key signature moments in our life that tells us this isn't quite what you think it is. You're not quite who you think you are. And so yeah, so that was my first experience of cannabis, was like that whole ungluing of my brain, I would say. And you start to, like, move around and figure out that you have more leverage within yourself than you realize. And and then I had some experiences with cannabis where I got paranoid. And so I would say that my relationship with cannabis has definitely, like, been different over the years. Or, I went for like a decade or more without smoking any cannabis. Like, there were times where I left it alone, and times I brought it back in, and times I abused it. And whenever I abused it, it was like, you don't believe in your power. You don't believe in yourself. And it's like being codependent with anybody. Like, if I have to have Michele in my life to feel good, and I'm like, Michele, tell me something beautiful about myself. I feel so bad right now. And I can't do that within myself. It's disempowerment. So my relationship with cannabis now is like, this is a sacred time where I'm going to go into my emotions. I'm going to go into my feelings. I'm going to cleanse. I'm going to process. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to reach in and feel my guides. I'm going to connect to my galactic star connections. And now it's a much more thing. It's always with an intention and a purpose when I do this, when I work with it now.
Yeah.
Did I answer the question? I kind of went over the...
No, that was beautiful. Linda, can I help you?
I actually wanted to
I love
pipe in
that cat
there
in the
a little
background.
bit.
I love that cat.
Linda's got to talk. We got to see the cat.
Cat in space. I had to give a little shout out to our cat and his galactic awakening. And I've had a couple things about this process that, people have had some questions so far, so I want to kick those in at the right time. During this process, this awakening process, I know I walked that journey with you sometimes, and I think that a lot of that I saw was the stories we tell ourselves over and over again, and having to really look at those stories. Why am I here again? What is the lesson here? What am I hiding from myself? That was a big part of it, was what am I not wanting to face? What pain is being hidden here? That if I could just process and get through that and acknowledge it, I can open up more and open up more. And it was just this layer upon layer, onion layers, peeling back. And I just, each time that happened with you, you awoke even more in who you were authentically, not who you were trying to be,
right,
not who you were trying to discover who you were. You were actually just emerging each time. And so I want to honor that and honor that process of, sometimes it was freaking hard for you. It was painful and tearful and raw and vulnerable. And that takes courage. Takes courage to be willing to open up to those levels, because the desire is to find who you truly are. And and why we do, I mean, we all repeat patterns so we get the lessons. Then sometimes it comes around again and goes, are you sure? Just checking. Here's the one more time just to see if you've gotten it. And I really feel that I've seen such amazing shift in you from, and I guess this is bringing it into one of the questions, from an empath point of view, when you're in that very vulnerable, very needy as far as validation. You were also more taking people's shit on. OPS, other people's shit. You were like this OPS magnet. Your roommates, your everything was like the people coming into your life. It was this OPS magnet. And as you have shifted that, those people have kind of fluffed away.
Oh, yeah.
And your whole energy, when I look at you, has shifted. And how you deal with OPS has shifted from taking it out and wanting to transmute it to something else. And I'd like to have you at some point talk about that, and so would our audience. How did you make that transition of OPS being such a part of your life to being able to say, I'm going to let you deal with that. I'll be here to support you. But this is your journey.
Yeah, thank you, Linda. Thank you for that. Thank you for that testimony of my graduation points in life. Yeah, I feel like other people's shit. I think that as an empath, there were many points where I would realize, oh, this person is utterly draining me. Like they are needing me. They want, because the thing is, like, as an empath, and this is also part of who I am. Like I always say I'm an old soul with a young spirit. Because like I can be very like immature in some ways, like silly, goofy, and sporadic or spontaneous. But I have like old soul wisdom that I also bring in. And it's like when I'm calm and when I'm, I'm connecting to that wisdom. And so, that with the empathy makes people go, oh, I want you to be my best friend, or, oh, I'm going to call you whenever I'm having a problem, because whenever I talk to you, you're able to get me, it's that thing of I was transmuting people's pain and not knowing that I was doing it. And that becomes a thing of like, I can't do it for you. You have to learn how to do it yourself. Like someone saying, calling me up and saying, I really, just talk to me because you always get me back into that good place. And me getting to a point where I had to say, oh, this is really one-sided. I'm not getting paid to do this. I can't be this person who they reflexively do this with and then don't honor my boundaries. They don't honor my needs. So I had to, this one person in mind in particular, I had to say to her, I don't know how you're going to solve that. I don't know how you're going to fix it. But when you find out, let me know. Let me know how you got that fixed, how you got that solved, because I just wasn't going to put myself in that place anymore. And there's always this, then there's like the next level of doing it. And then like, how do you do that at work? How do you do that in dating? Like, and being able to say, oh, this is where it's showing up again. I'm now being, my vulnerability is being taken advantage of. The fact that I'm emotionally available is being taken advantage of. Oh, there's a new boundary. I'm learning it right now with my new position at work, and being able to say, okay, now I finally have this position that I've wanted to be in. And there's somebody that is digging into my vulnerability because it's there to dig into. Oh, well, I guess, and I had this like epiphany just last night. I was like, oh, now I'm really pissed off. Now I'm really mad. I can really see what's happening. I still have compassion for them and why they're doing it. But now I have a new boundary. So when this happens next time, either I'll be doing things differently so it doesn't come up again because my behavior is inviting it. So there's something about me that's inviting it. I'm attracting it in for a lesson. And now I've got a new boundary to practice. I've got a new way of speaking to practice. So I can say to that person, I'm not all right when you do that. It feels like this when you're saying that to me, and I don't communicate that way to other people. So I'd appreciate it if you don't communicate that way to me. And being just very clear and crisp about it, because you're not pointing to the good things I'm bringing in this project. You're not pointing to the things that I've turned around, that I've made better. You're just pointing out to the weak spots because you have your own insecurity. Maybe I can't say that, but I know that internally. And from that wisdom, I can be like, okay, I'm not going to play into that game anymore. I'm not going to play. And I get to build that muscle and not look for that, again, external validation. Oh, if they can all celebrate what I'm doing, I can feel good. No, you have got to celebrate yourself and do it within yourself. Build that internal love muscle, which for me is my solar plexus. Like I've got to, that place that feels wiggly and, jiggly and like, oh, I'm scared. And I'm like, that's where the love has to like just emanate, grow, and radiate. So that way I can see things clearly and I'm not tied in, latched in with these emotional cords, hoping to be recognized, hoping to be seen. I'm seeing myself whether you see it or not. That's a new level of self-love within the business context for me. So again, it's like seeing what you're looking at what you are creating, what you're bringing into your world, owning your creative hand in that. Why am I attracting it? There's some part of me that's not resolved this issue. There's some part of me that believes I deserve this. Why am I bringing this in? Not to beat yourself up, but to own your power and to take back the truth of who you are, which isn't less than. The truth of who you are is that you're always enough. How about that?
That is amazing, the way you put that. And that's kind of the struggle of all empaths, right? It's like we kind of start out as codependent empaths.
Yes, totally.
Because that external validation, because we feel it. If someone is not in agreement with what we're doing or saying, we feel it before we even know it.
Yes.
And so we're constantly wanting that validation. Like, love me. Tell me I'm okay. That was great. What a great insight, Kat.
Thanks. Hope it wasn't too rambly.
No, are you kidding me? Your rambles are full of information. They're like info rambles.
Hashtag info rambles.
Well, and one thing I want to add to that is that being there wanting to fix someone or solve their problems is very different than being in the energy of wanting to be there to be supportive, to be a witness, to help ask guiding questions. That is a very different energy to help blossom that consciousness versus, here, let me fix you, or let me make it better.
Yeah,
very
and
different.
It's challenging because as the empath, you this is an unconscious thing. It's like you feel the person suffering, and you know that if you can help them stop suffering, then you'll stop suffering too because you're feeling it empathically. So it's like it's this unconscious thing of like, oh, well, if I can get them to feel better, I will also stop feeling their pain and we'll both feel better, as opposed to, oh, actually, I can't resolve that. I can only love them. I mean, if they're going to work with me to resolve it, that's one thing, but if that's not my role, and then ask those guiding questions, shift them back into their power so that they are picking up the thread as opposed to you having to carry it for them.
Right. And there's a key word that you need to ask permission.
Yes.
Do not try to do that without somebody. And I
100.
see that all the time.
Yeah.
That, it's like, step back. This is their journey. You can
Mhm.
ask them if they want help, if they want to have somebody witness it, but don't just jump in there and try and make
Yeah.
it easier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a habit of saying, can I give you some feedback, or is it okay if I ask you some questions about that? Like, I'll ask them first because they may say no. They may say, I'm
Yeah.
processing, I am not interested in what you have to say right now.
Yeah. I know. And when I teach, especially when I teach energy healing, I am like so strict on do not approach people like, oh, you're broken, I can fix you.
Right.
And because it's basically really coming from ego. It's not coming from an equal space. And it happens, and most people that move into these kind of fields are empathic. They do feel, and they are coming from, oh my gosh, I feel your pain, I want to help you. But it's
Mhm.
so important to ask permission. And Linda, that was so amazing to point out, because we have to honor the other person's place in all of it. And when we're coming to, oh, I feel your pain, let me fix you, it's not even about the person you're helping, it's really about yourself. And
Mhm.
so we have to be really, really careful about that. And I see so many people that are, healers, that are going around the world saying, you're broken, I can fix you. And there's no empowerment going on there. There's no upliftment. And a lot of times I talk with people and tell them, Jesus didn't walk around and go, hey, you're broken, come here, let me fix you. He just wandered through the wilderness and people found him.
Mhm.
And so it's always, I tell all my students and even clients too, because, they a lot of them are out there doing that, where it's like, be Jesus. Just shine your light and those that need you will come to you. And I
Mhm.
know sometimes we do have to address people, especially when you work with people. Sometimes, Kat, and you're so beautiful in doing, it's like, can I ask you some questions? It's like gorgeous, gorgeous. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Linda. Linda with the cat over her shoulder. Space Linda and Space Cat flying through
Space
the
cat
universe.
and space. I promised him I was going to have a picture of him in space. So
So cute. Kat, when did you realize that you were an empath?
Yeah. So, I've had, okay, so it was really back when I was again, flipping through the book here, I was in my late 30s. I was in Iowa City and I was getting a degree. I was getting not my master's, I don't have a master's. I was getting my bachelor's. And I was like, just opening up back into going deeper into the spiritual, going deeper into uh, mediumship, thinking about mediumship, thinking about connecting to your guides. And so I broke open the Reiki again, because I had received a Reiki, training, a decade or so before. So I was getting back into Reiki and doing sessions, and noticing that when I was working on somebody, I could feel what they were feeling as my hands were on their body, and I'm going over their body and I'm feeling this emotion. And it became a thing of, okay, I'm feeling this emotion, and this is where this belief is being stored in your shoulders. This belief is being stored in your lower back. And then being able to hear the truth of it, just clear cognizance, being able to say, but this is what's really true. Like, you can't compare yourself to your father. It's not fair to do that. And for me to say that to somebody who may have not even been, like, had never said it to his wife, had not realized how much he was doing it to himself, giving that reflection and letting him like cry, like, oh my God, you saw me doing it. You saw me in that position of comparison and judging myself. And well, here's a break from that, because it's not fair to do that to yourself. You can't do, it's not fair to you.
Yeah.
And bringing that compassion in. And so that's when I really started to be aware that I had that ability. Didn't do a lot more with it, because my life has just been a series of transitions and transitions and transitions. And so I've lived many lifetimes within this one lifetime, I feel like. And then I moved to I moved to Colorado, Fort Collins, Colorado, where I met Linda. And this is around the time that I met Linda. There was an empath she did different healing modality. It was Chinese healing modality of doing energy work. I can't remember the exact name of it, but she was doing that work, and that was her profession. And then she had an empathic class of learning, how to use your empathic abilities. And I attended that. And I realized, oh, I can hear and sense a lot more than I even realized. One of the people because we were doing, breaking out into pairs, you're working with the other person. So the other person I'm working with, I'm, feeling this, I'm sensing this, I'm saying what I'm feeling. And the feedback is, oh my God, I said that to my husband yesterday. I said, that's what I told my husband yesterday. So there's that instant validation. And then there was another woman who was just having a hard time releasing sexual abuse trauma from her childhood, and being able to walk over and help the group that was helping her, and feel the anger in her heart and how it ran down through her body and it came back up, and being able to track it, which I'd never done before, but it just happened. It was just there, being able to sense it and feel it, and being able to report it, because I was in a safe space to do it, I suppose. And we're all empathing together. So it was like, that was the space to discover I could do that, I suppose. And then I did, to help her clear out this energy. It's like she was releasing it, but it wasn't moving. It was like these charcoals, like the visual I got was like these red embers that were like burning her body. And she was going, like, feeling the anger, but it wasn't transmuting. And so I went to the top of her head, and I had been, hanging out with angels and, talking with angels. And my intention, no matter how much I got in my way, was to be able to, work with angels and channel angels. And so in that moment where my ego's not in the way, I go to the crown of her head, and I just start to channel and kind of bellow out this music with an archangel, to let it wave through her body and clear out that energy she couldn't get cleared out. And it transmuted it for her, and it released it from her being. And that was just by me getting out of the way and stepping into the flow and being like, oh, you can channel archangels, like you can channel their music. And it's again, something I've done that a couple of times after that. Is it something I do on a normal basis? No, but it's like these things I've practiced mediumship. I practice this. I do lucid dreaming. It's like these things that I get into, but I've tend to spin the dial and then go off and try something else again. And they're always there for me to tune into at a moment's notice. It's like they're in my bat belt, my cat belt, my cat belt. And I can like take those things out and do my catarang. And it's like, whatever that gift is that person needs in the moment, that's there for me, but I may not be using it all the time. How about that?
Yeah, that makes sense, because I think that's how it works for a lot of people. That's so awesome that you put it that way, because, a lot of people are empaths. They do use it, but it does come and go. It's not always something that's just in the forefront. For some people it is.
Some people it is.
But yeah, that is so cool, because we are so multidimensional. To be able to just move to where your flow goes is super powerful. Super powerful. And I know Linda and Jillian too are flowy people. They can go where the energy takes them. And it's so beautiful, because then you really are being that conduit. You really are being that placeholder for whatever needs to be done. If the Jesus needs to come through, if Mother Mary, if the angels, if star beings, whatever, they can come through and do what needs to be done. Because I mean, really, if we think about it, as healers and empaths and even psychics, we don't know what's going on with the people we're working with, and it's so cool to be able to just stand in that space and just let it flow. And you do it so beautifully. All three of you do. It's so cool. That's part of what is the magic of this show. Is that you guys flow.
Yeah, I feel like we have a sacred shrine between me, Jillian, and Linda, where well, the three of us together creates this synergetic platform where when we have guests that come on, we love them, we're celebrating them. And because that's the energy, they're able to unpack themselves and talk about themselves in a way where we're not going to sideswipe you. We're not going to come at you with a question, try to get you like, well, how can you prove it? Like we might say, how do you prove it? But it's not like with an attention, there's no claw attached to it. You know what I mean? There's nothing, there's no hook that's trying to like get at you. We just want people to meet their people, and we want this platform to connect them to, for people to connect to people, to have community, and for us to also have these wonderful experiences with our guests where we get to learn and connect and build these new friendships. It's just I feel like it's just a blessing. And the other thing is that like I feel like I've said this to Jillian and Linda, and I believe they have both confirmed that this is their experience. When we have a guest on a show, there's a mutual download going on. So we're downloading from like that guest's higher self and from their lineage of whatever they're bringing in. And then the guest is also downloading from us. And there's this cross exchange of content and unspoken content, because those lines have now just crossed and formed, and it's created a new connection node, as it were.
Connection node. I love it. And yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, there's that saying that is across so many spiritual traditions where two or more are gathered, you know, spirit is able to come in. And then you guys have the triad, which is the sacred triad. And so that is the PowerPoint. You've got your PowerPoint that is so beautiful. It's amazing. It's, you know, it's cool just sitting here just with you guys. It's like my crown chakra is like a giant satellite dish. It's so cool. It's so
all
cool.
we're missing, Michelle, all we're missing is that we all need unicorn horns.
I'm trying to figure out where to get some.
Pull that in
for you guys, because I'm thinking this is the
that's the antenna.
It's the antenna.
The receivers.
That's right.
The receivers receive that in. Dudes, unicorns rock. Oh my God, you guys are so amazing, so fun. You know what, Kat, I want to ask you about something we were talking about the other day, because I think a lot of people feel this way, especially people that are really sensitive to the world. You know, empaths come in, and this world is not like fluffy bunny. It's not like unicorn fur, you know? It's like walking through glass sometimes.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, you had an experience coming into your infant form.
Oh God. Yep. Okay.
And what that was. And I think that's so important, because I think you're going to be speaking to a lot of people. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. And Linda, I apologize. She has heard this story 8,000 times, because I'd be like, Linda, you know that piece where I have a hard time being on the planet? It's up again. Ugh. And so she's heard it so many times. But so yeah. All right. Here's the story. I am flipping back the pages to my about 24 years old. And I now 24, I'd say. I now live in Omaha, Nebraska. Lived in Nebraska. No, Omaha, Nebraska is a great place to go if you need to get grounded, which is what I needed to do. I needed to be as slow as molasses so I could get grounded. And that was the energy that I needed. I lived there for about 10 years or so. But so I'm there. I'm living with somebody who's extremely psychic, irritatingly psychic, where they can just hear your thoughts. Like, not trying to, they're just that psychic. Like, wow, which is also a burden. Like it was hard for her, because she could, you know, see stuff, pick up stuff, know stuff. And just now, what do you do that you picked it all up? Anyway, so I'm living with this gal. We are friends. She has another friend who's a hypnotherapist, and this hypnotherapist friend of ours comes over, and she wants to teach. So the hypnotherapist friend wants to teach my psychic friend, you know, these techniques, so she can learn it as well. So I'm the test subject, or I'm the client, or the patient, or whatever you would call that. And so she puts me into a hypnotic state. It's the first time I've ever done that. I ever did that, and I have this experience of this. I just go into this place where I am flying around the ethers. I'm having the best time ever. I'm like a dude. I'm like, hey, like my demeanor and my voice, everything's dude. I'm very like a surfer. I'm like surfing the ethers, man. It's fucking great. I love it. And so I'm this surfer guy, and then or a young guy, and then it's like, oh, they're calling me back. They're calling me back, and I go into this space where there's like 3 or 4 tall beings around me who look human, but they're tall, and robes and shit, right? And so there's this little platform that they're having me step into, and I'm like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. And I have to like step down. So of a flat surface, there's this circular that's a lower. It's like a circular lower part that I have to step down into. And I'm like, I don't want to go back. And so it's just basically, I'm just so upset that I have to return. And then I go through what must be a birth process, because I'm just crying and whatnot. But I'm also, it's like, I think I just go through this birth process of physically being born, because then what I experience is that I am born and I'm stuck in a body again. And I say the same thing, like my story earlier about my higher self saying, I'm back now and there's nothing anyone can do about it. It's a celebration. As a baby, it was like, I'm back now. There's nothing I can do about it. It was like, I'm stuck here in this body again, and I have to go through this life again. And so it was really, God, and that was the tone for this lifetime. And it's still the tone, I would say, that's being resolved as I reconnect to my guides, as I reconnect to my star family, as I reconnect to my, my lineage of who and what I am. And it just made more sense in terms of that struggle. I understood why I was having such a struggle, and the whole issue of being here and how painful it is to be here and why I don't want to be here. And I know that, because of that pain, there were at least a couple of lifetimes that I killed myself, because I was like, fuck you, I'm out. This hurts. My entire family, my entire tribe has been killed. I'm out, and like, that's it, I'm done. And it's like, well, that's interesting choice, but you're still gonna have to like deal with, you have to come back and finish it, because the whole thing is that love and loss are intimately woven together. And no matter what you love, at some point it's going to transition and move on and change. And there's an experience of loss, but loss is part of being alive, because it creates that opening for something else new to come in. And when you have the experience in my past life of having lost everything and being like, well, fuck it, I'm out of here, fuck the planet, fuck everything. The lesson is that you can't really lose anything at the same time. Like in this physical world, we experience loss, but the spiritual lesson is that we're always connected. And it's a matter of being able to integrate that, so you can go through and honor and grieve the human loss and still have that spiritual connection, that then all of those tears, all of those ashes, that becomes the energy, the fertilizer, what's the word I'm looking for? It becomes the rich soil for your next portion of growth, your next new connection, your next going deeper, going wider, becoming more of who you are. All of those tears, all of that dross becomes that rich soil for the new thing to be born out of. And if you don't stick around for the rich soil, then you just have to come back and do it, play it out again until you learn how to go through it. You have to, if you want to get to the other side, you have to go through. You can't hop over, you can't squeak around the corner. You have to go through, because it's part of seeding the light onto this planet. And that means being human, that means being humbled in the human form, and then resurrecting from that, just like Jesus and some other people did as well. So
yeah, that's beautiful. You know what just kind of downloaded with me right now is, we all, have heard about the mystery schools and initiations and all that kind of stuff. And as I was sitting here, all of a sudden it came into my mind. It's like the experience of the empath and being empathic is like an initiation. And it's weird. It's like I got kind of a two-sided thing. It's like coming in with this extreme sense of the empathy. I mean, because it's like that heightened sense of your feeling, but it is, whoa, it is turned up. The dial is on, top notch. And coming in with that, you have to go through the initiation,
Right.
walk through the pain and get to the other side. You can't squeak around it. You can't bury it. You can't, well, you can, but eventually
It'll
you're going to have
pop
to
up.
face it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like this experience of empath, and those of us, I'll know everybody here is, everybody listening is, that it's part of your spiritual journey. It's part of that initiation into the next phase of awakening, is experiencing the empath and coming to that, like what we were talking about at the beginning, where this isn't a curse. It isn't something you have to bear. It's something you move through. It's something that you use to transmute, transform, and transcend your own shadow. And very often those around you, depending on, if you're using it in your work and all that. But it's weird. It was like all of a sudden I got this coming through where it's part of the initiation process. And when you look at initiations in ancient mystery schools and that kind of stuff, they weren't easy. In Egypt, there was one where you had to dive down 20 feet, go under a wall, and come up to a pool full of alligators, hungry alligators. And you had to get out and swim 20 feet up through the alligators and get out of that pool. That's a little bit like being an empath.
That's so real. That's so real.
Those alligators are out there everywhere. And if we don't know how to swim through, and also, when you're on an initiatory path, if you're going to get into that pool and you're going to do this thing, you are going to have determination, right? You're going to be like, I am passing this test. And I think that's maybe something that we're sharing today with all of you empaths out there is, it's not a shrinking thing. It's a time to step into your power, into your strength. And like Kat was saying, begin to understand who you truly are in this world. You are not just a person that's a little bit sensitive. You are a mighty, sacred being who comes here with gifts and power and strength. You are sacred and divine. And you are part of the evolution, the revolution that is the evolution of mankind. So I kind of, me being me, I wanted to say, get off the pot, step up and get on with it, where it's like, it's really time. Archangel Michael just went, empaths unite. It's like, we need to start supporting each other and loving each other. And Kat, you do that so beautifully. And you ladies do that so beautifully here on the show. This is so cool.
Just another note to that really quick is that in a lot of the cultures, there is that crone, there is that shaman to help people walk through this process. Right. We don't have that necessarily. Exactly. We have to create that within our community, and picking them, carefully. Anyone that says they have all the answers, run, right? Like, you're supposed to find your own answers.
Yeah.
They're there to support you finding those answers.
Yeah. And that's what's so important too. I think a lot of the healers and the intuitives are kind of stepping into that crone place for each other right now. But it is, thank you for bringing that up. Anybody that says they know everything, a true teacher is not going to tell you anything. They're going to show you the door. They'll probably push you through, but but they're not going to tell you what to see, or they'll guide you on how to experience it, but not what to experience. And that's what's so important. And that's what's so cool about you guys. It's like, you guys share your experiences, you share your wisdom, but you don't tell anybody what they're supposed to do. And that's part of the power of Third Eye Salon. I almost said Third Eye Blind again. Don't make me break out in song. And it's so cool too. And I'm so glad you shared this, Kat, about, I don't want to be here. How many of us feel that way? Oh my gosh. I used to wake up and be pissed off that I was still alive. I would be like, are you kidding me? you know, and my thing was, you know, like I
Yeah.
would drink 2 bottles of wine being like, okay, this ought to do it. I'm going to bed. I'm
Right.
good. I've got enough
Yeah.
alcohol in me to kill a horse. Right. And I'd
Mhm.
wake up and it'd be like, oh my God, are you kidding me? You know, it's like, what do I got to do? Like to accidentally leave the planet, you know?
Mm.
But in that, I understood that I had a purpose. And I think that happens with a lot of people too. You know, where all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm not getting out of this.
Mhm.
So there's a purpose to it. And I really want and hope everybody understands that there really is a very important purpose.
And it's important, and I'm gonna let you ask. I'm gonna let you talk. I'm gonna let you ask. I'm gonna let you finish. But I just want to say that like there's a love you so much. There's this thing of being able to say that it hurts to be here and that it's okay. Because for
Yeah.
me, it's like I've been working so hard at wanting to be here. I've been working so hard at celebrating my life, taking back my power. Like, how do I manifest? You know, how does that work for me? How can I create the world I want? And just juggling all those pieces of what it means to be a spirit in a human form, and how do I create heaven on earth? It's my task, it's my role to anchor heaven on earth. It's not, you know, there's again this point, I'm hanging out with Sister Cannabis and I'm connecting to this is, you know, a few years ago when I first moved to Denver about 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm out on the lawn and I'm connecting to my guides, just being like, I just miss you. I just want you to take me back. I just want to come home. And they're like, it's your job to bring us to your world. Like, it's your job. It's not for us to bring you up to, it's not our job to bring you up to us. It's your job to bring us down to you and anchor us on your planet. And so there's this thing of like, okay, I really want to fulfill that mission. And yet this world is like a knife against my heart. It hurts to be here. People are mean to each other. People are cruel to each other. They're cruel to themselves. It hurts to be here. That pain is real because this is a world of suffering. And you're bringing light into a world of suffering, but it doesn't mean the suffering is no longer there. And we have to give ourselves permission to feel it and acknowledge it if we're going to work through it. If we're going to deny it and try to suffocate it, that is not you being your authentic self. It's not you being true to yourself. It's you, you know, trying to like put booze into your inner child. Like that whole thing of like, I want the pain to stop. Oh, now I'll do it with affirmations. Like, you have got to let yourself feel what you're feeling so it can transform. If you want to be a transformer for the world, you have to be a transformer for yourself first.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is one of the gifts of the empath is that transformation. But we have to feel the feels.
Mm-hmm.
We have to feel the feels. And it does hurt. And this world it's like sometimes I'm like, there's humans and then there's something else going on here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, how can a human be so cruel to another human? It's just
Exactly.
heartbreaking. And then being empathic, you know, it just really tears you up. And I know, Kat, that you have opened up so much to like your star family connections and all that kind of stuff. And I love that you said that they told you that, you know, we're not, you know, trying to get home. We're actually trying to bring all that here.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that a little bit more? Because that is such an important point.
What would you like to know about it?
Well, you know what, one thing I do want to talk about, you were telling me about feeling like you were a wolf. Remember the wolf experience?
Okay.
And
Yep.
I know we're digging into your feels today,
I know.
my friend. I love you.
I
Now
love
bear
you
your
too.
pain.
Well, it's a weird thing because it's like these are stories I've only told to the closest of friends, right? Like these aren't stories I've recorded and shared with anybody, so it is vulnerable.
And we love you.
Thank you, and you know, I guess I'm documenting it here first. Thank you, sweetie. I'm so within that same time when I was having that first past. It wasn't even intended as a past life regression. It just happened spontaneously. So when I'm living in Omaha, I've got my psychic friend, we've got the hypnotherapist friend. The next thing that happened after remembering the being like, I don't want to come back, was I'm on the planet and I have to be a wolf. I'm some kind of a dog wolf that within that phylum species. And I'm just like, my hands are up to my face and I'm howling in pain and grief because I'm off the ship and I'm stuck on the planet, and I've been abandoned to this planet. I've been abandoned to this world. And I mean, it's one of those things where these are the pieces of my tapestry, and a light will turn on here, and a light will turn on over there, and a light will turn on over there. And they don't seem to be connected, yet there's a connection. And I'm like, okay, but I'm Katman. I know I'm feline. Like, I have got such a strong feline connection with the lion people. Like, that's really visceral for me. And one of my guides is a lion person, because she'll step into my body and I can feel like how her perception and the way she talks is. And so, but this is like a wolf aspect. And I'm like, oh, and then I'll have other little flashes. I'm like, yeah, I'm a wolf. I'm a wolf there. And so I'm a wolf being. I'm a cat being. How does all of this, constellation of life incarnations express into this one? That's my journey. That's what I get to solve. But I hope it lets other people know that, you don't have to know it all. You don't have to have all the lights on at once. Sometimes it's really important for lights to come on at a certain time in certain places. But there's a theme of abandonment. So the thing that I do, because what I always look at is like, what are the patterns? What if everything's a mirror, if we're in a fractal universe and we're all reflections of something greater going on, what's my mirror? What are my mirrors showing back to me? So here there's this theme of abandonment that keeps showing up again and again. And it helps me walk back into some parts of which I probably won't share on the show because it is still very new and tender. But like my leaving heaven, my leaving the stars, and how I got to be here, and my fall from the stars, and how abandonment works both ways. You can be rebellious and you can kick off of something because you think that you know better, right, and you're going to do it your way, and you're abandoning what you've known. You're abandoning your family and your home, and that might land you into some hot water when you've just disconnected from your tribe, and you're being willful and you're operating out of ego. So my experience of abandonment is a direct result of my behavior in my other selves and the choices that we've made, which have gotten us to this point today, and how I'm sewing it back together in this lifetime. Now I'm an empath. Now I have these abilities, I have these gifts, but my intention is to sow the light back into the earth, back into this dimension, and bring it into this world. And that's me completing that karma of abandonment, as it were.
Wow. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
Is absolutely beautiful, because I know that you have a really strong connection to the star beings and to that realm. And, we've talked extensively and have connected together into that, where it's like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it's, and I kind of wanted to ask you about that. I know you were telling me about a woman in Australia that kind of helped you to Courtney.
Oh, Courtney Beck.
That kind of
yeah.
helped you reconnect and become a little bit more aware of that. And I would love for you to share that, because, I know so many of us really are star people, and maybe all of us are at some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that remembrance.
Yeah, thank you. Because I want to ground that in this thing of like, we are the physical incarnation of a much greater lineage or tribe or nations, star nations, that we are, in my experience, this is true for me, it doesn't have to be true for anybody else. It's like, I feel like I am a fractal human representation. I am the answer to many karmic ties in this lifetime of my star family, where we're getting to finish a lot of our karmic lessons completed in this lifetime through me, and I'm sort of a representation of many. And at the same time, I'm definitely those beings, and I are, it's like you look at your kid and you're not your kid, but you are your kid. Like, who you are is in your kid, even though your kid's your own person. So it's kind of that way where I'm my own person, but I'm also definitely these other parts as well. So So with Courtney Beck, this is our wonderful friend Karen Swain, who really was our first guest on the show. So she was somebody who introduced me to Courtney Beck. She had Courtney Beck on her show. She had something called, and Karen Swain's in Australia as well. And so she has her inner sanctum, and she brings in Courtney Beck, who's channeling Krishna and other like gods, what we call gods, what I have come to understand are ETs. They're like high level ETs, but we call them on this planet gods because that was a relationship that was formed way back in the day. So she's just she's giving people these like little like 5-minute like channeling sessions where she'll just listen to what they have to say, and then she'll give people this whatever these ET God beings are saying. And so when it comes to my turn, it becomes emotional for her and emotional for me, because it's like, oh my God, this is my family. And she's saying, it's basically, they're saying, it's like a wee family reunion through a channel where we get to reconnect. And I am a part of them. I'm one of them. And it's like that thing of like, oh God, we miss you, we love you, we're here, and we're so proud of you. And it was a way to reconnect to that galactic level of my ET origins, and just have a moment with them again and be like, oh God, they're still there, they're still with me, and we're still connected even if I'm in this physical form.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine too, with that experience with being the wolf and being kind of feeling like expelled from the ship, right? To be able to have that reconnection, like, oh my gosh, they're still there.
It's everything. It's everything. I mean, when I just last weekend, when I just went out and I went for a walk and it was hanging and, with Sister Cannabis and just connecting to I couldn't, so I was just like off into this nature area close to where I live, doing my thing. And it's just that thing where I'm like, okay, you guys, don't leave me again though. Don't leave me again though. And because when I'm with Sister Cannabis, the portals are more open and it's just easier for me to align. And they've also told me, they're like, well, that's for right now. Eventually, like that won't even be a thing. And I know that there's going to be another graduation point with that. But I'm sitting there and I'm feeling them. I'm, just talking with them and processing my feelings and my emotions with them, as any good empath would do, I suppose. And then, and I'm coming back, and it's like this new muscle that I'm learning is like that they're with me, and to bring the feeling of them to bring the feeling of them being with me back into my day-to-day, back into my, my day job, my, third eye salon, into every single thing, so that the continuum is reestablished. And it's just, that's my work to do. That's my muscle to build. It's not on them to do that. It's like I told you this the other night, Michelle, like whenever I would reach out to angels and be like, angels, help me with this, archangel, help me with that, they'd go, you can do it. Do it yourself. Just do it yourself. And it was like, well, these other people reach out for help and get help. And like, they would always just be like, and I'm sure they show up time and again, are helping me on the side, left and right, all the time. But like, so often when I'm conscious of it, they'd just say, they'd be like, do it yourself. Like, you can do this yourself. And it's just that owning our divine self in the physical body means having to do things that aren't comfortable and having to grow parts of yourself that may have been dormant before. And it's a journey. Like it is your live action movie is your life. And you are the hero. You're the damsel in distress and the hero, swooping in to save yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so important that we understand that too. And I know when we were talking about that too, what kind of came through is that, the angels are here to help us. And there are those, that can say, oh, help me. And they get, they come in. But there are those of us that are here as masters of sort. I'm using that word because Archangel Michael is giving that word, that are masters, that they don't need their help. We can do it. And that's part of what we're here to learn, is that we can. And again, it goes back to the empaths. That's why you're feeling this stuff, right? We're feeling it so that we can learn to use it, not be a victim of it, if you will. Woo, that gave me chills. not be a victim of it, but to be able to feel it and use it as, I like to call it my superpower, but use it as that superpower to transmute, transform, and transcend, and step back into that mastery that we already are, that already exists. And it's part of that fractal experience. And I want to talk about this with you, Kat,
Okay.
because it's like this is where you and I start getting into woo
I
way
know.
the heck out there, because we are so multidimensional.
Mhm.
You know, we are not just a spirit in human form. We exist in multiple forms at one time, and we exist in energy forms, which is, you know,
Mhm.
what most of it is, but from the one. And
Mhm.
so can we talk about that fractal nature of reality? This is getting into your like ooh, awesomeness that's roaming around in that cat brain of yours.
Yeah, I will say you'll probably have to prompt me on some of this because
Okay,
for me, it is like, okay, I'll take you into my bathtub with me, you lucky things.
let's do
So,
it.
so I'm in my bathtub having my cannabis bath, where I'm like, you know, it's really hot water because it also helps put me into an altered state. And I've hung out with Sister Cannabis and I'm connecting in. And it's like in that spot where I'm just, because you know the water's like a womb, you know, like the hot water. It's like you're like in that. It's an intuitive emotional element, water, right? And so I've got all of this like yin energy going on, so I'm able to really easily connect into the what's there, and it's so immediate for me in terms of if I ask a question, then a voice comes through with some information and is, you know, and I'm starting to see, trying to relate what I'm seeing in my brain into words. Like I'm going up and I'm seeing, okay, this is a part that I'm connected to. This is a being, a consciousness that I'm connected to. And this one also over here. And they're connecting into mine. They're learning from my life. I'm learning from theirs. And they're explaining how this physical world is a mirror of the spiritual world in terms of everything being these points of light. There's this massive grid, this universal grid. There are all these points of light, and we are all these beings that are these points of light. We are this quantum field, and we exist there. And translating and showing how it shows up in the physical world to me so I can understand that and help navigate the physical world better. And knowing that as I'm tuning in and listening to them, they're also able to look out through my eyes and learn from my experience. And there's a mutual exchange happening because they're part of my constellation that I'm connected with. And I feel like the more that I'm able to hone that consciousness and hone my focus and whatnot, I will be able to pop into their reality and look out through their eyes. And that will be a thing that I'll be able to do because we're that close and we're that connected. We're on that much of an even exchange, even though it's a parallel, alternate dimension reality, whatever you want to call it, it's still completely accessible because we're consciousness.
Wow.
Does that make sense? Does that sound...
Totally.
All right. Jillian gave me a thumbs up. So.
Totally. Linda, Jillian, you go, girl. Jillian, did you? Oh, yeah. I can feel your guys' energy. Like, Hobbit.
Yeah, I've had a similar experience too, just like Kat, taking a bath and just getting like the same kind of similar download. That's awesome.
Yeah, I see the hologram, or I see the grid all the time, and like the lights are popping on. Like I'm seeing this building of this grid that already exists. It's just the lights are popping on all over this grid.
Yeah.
And I look at it as holograms. You know, we are all, a hologram contains the whole thing in itself, but you're just seeing it from a different angle each time.
Yep.
But it's a containing entity in itself of the whole. And to me, that's kind of what each of these little spots in the grid are little holograms of the whole.
Yeah.
So we're seeing facets of it.
Yeah, that's one of the things with this last awakening experience that I had was it's like you are the creator, but you're also the creation.
Mm,
right? And so it's like we're all the whole, and we're all whole within the whole, and then the whole is whole within the whole, and that's the
mhm,
hologram. And
mhm.
it's just like, the human brain is out, starting to go poppity pop pop pop. I can't handle it. I need to, I need to go play my piano for a second. And it is it, but what's so cool is when people keep hearing it over and over and over. And Linda, you put it so beautifully too. And Jillian, you saying, yeah, I have that too. People start hearing it over and over and beginning to get this concept. It starts to remap the brain so that we can begin to
Mm,
understand and open up more people to that experience, or to have people go, oh, that's what that was.
mm,
That's what I
yeah.
saw.
Mm,
Right.
that's huge.
Yeah. And there was something else that you said, Kat, that I have to say, because I know we're getting down, it's almost 10:30. And I need to be off at quarter of, because I'm going over to my
Oh,
Divine Flow Expo
yeah, yeah.
live that we're doing. But you said this, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like in a nutshell. Ascension is happening through you, not to you.
Yeah. I think we're
It's,
all of one accord on that one. Yeah, to hop back into this whole hologram thing, like we're all experiencing it. We see it slightly different from our vantage point, but we're all waking up to the fact that we're in this hologram. And it's, it's an energetic hologram, but it's definitely a containment field at the same time in terms of the density. And us being here is here to help pop that density and get it back connected into the rest of the how it really is when you're not here, when you're not in this really physical heavy um bubble of reality. And it's like we are in this bubble of density, and once you pop into it, it seems, it's like, oh, there's a huge sky, everything, it's like it's bigger on the inside. It's like it looks like a small little bubble. You pop into it and you experience it as being this, oh, we're in a universe, but it's a containment field of, at the same time, that holds aspects, but not the exact divine expression of all of these aspects of life, but they are the fractal key points of those expressions. And so we get to have interaction. And one of the things that you did with me, it's like we think, okay, angels, come, and I want to channel you, so come down in. And one of the things you did with me was like, let the archangel come up inside of you. And that flipped my perception, because I'd heard this before, but I didn't know how to grasp it. And I'm still learning how to grasp it, that like I'm a projection into this world, into this body. But if I close my eyes and go astral, or go, like Jillian has these amazing OBEs, like then you've popped into a different level of dimension and a different level of reality. And within that, this is our birthright. This is the true gift of humanity, is that we've had all of these things done to us, but it is for us to transmute them and transform them, and they become these pivot points of absolute empowerment that is operating from spirit first, from a heart, through the heart, spirit first through the heart, and the mind, the ego finds its rightful place as being the interface between this dimension and that dimension. It's no longer calling the shots, it's the logical interface, so we can translate the physical world and the spiritual world at the same time and make them harmonize. That's, in my understanding, the true role of the mind or the ego. And if we are waiting for the ship to pick us up, or we're waiting for ascension to happen so we can finally be happy, or we're waiting for Jesus to rapture us up into heaven so we can finally be home, then we've lost the whole anchor of why we are here in this realm as light beings in physical bodies.
yeah. Yeah, that's so beautifully put. I know a few years ago, I downloaded the information that, that like the return of the Christ is not necessarily Jesus coming back. It's a return of Christ consciousness through us.
100%.
And that concept that it's coming through us. We are that. We come here with everything we need to be able to do it. The secret is that we still got to get dropped in here like that lone wolf. Here, boop. Now figure it out. No manual, no guidance, no instructions,
Right.
and you can't remember anything except for little blips every once in a while,
Mhm.
or if you are a lucid dreamer or out of body like Jillian, we over the lifetimes, it's kind of how I understand it, is that we develop that and begin to open and open and open it. And
Mhm.
there's a reason we all chose to be here. We keep choosing to come back, even though when we get dropped in, we're like, no. No, I meant that other place, the good place. But yeah, it's so important that we understand that, and that we are part of, we're experiencing these things, but again, it's not really happening to us, it's happening through us. And a lot of times that is that letting go thing, right? Just let go. My past was horrible, I need to process it, but it's like, how about just let go? Allow it to process to the point to where you can be somewhat in harmony with it, but at some point you just have to let go. And when you do, you allow the healing to move through. That transmutation can begin. As long as we're hanging on to it, it's still there, right?
Yeah, I've found that there's like steps where now in
Yeah.
this process of dealing, it's just been so intense over these last 2 months where all of this has come up for me, and it's like, oh, this depth of pain of abandonment, like working with Kevin Lockwood, like I said before in our show with Kevin Lockwood, working with him has been huge, and working with you, Michele, like this depth of grief that did not get to express itself needed to express itself.
Yes.
It needed to express itself because you can't sugarcoat it. And now I have this range of like, so that will come up and I'll feel that, but because I've felt it and worked through it, it doesn't have the same level of intensity. So it's there now and I'm feeling that grief, but now there's a level that says, okay, so you feel the grief, and do you feel anything else? Okay, well, I also feel like part of me feels happy to be here. Okay, is there anything about being here that is good that you enjoy? Oh yeah, I do enjoy this part. And I'm able to then be like, oh, I'm on mission. This is why I'm here. So I can go through these levels of grief and then come up and walk through the stairs and be like, okay, now here's the part that is excited to be here. And maybe there's another level beyond that. But like at least these lower levels, I'm able to step out of them more easily because I finally got to feel it all the way through. And that's what made it viable for me to start moving up to the other tiers on a more like on my terms within my own consciousness.
Yeah. And that's the transmutation, is the
Yes.
awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Archangel Michael is saying like 90% of the transmutation is the awareness, just
Wow.
awareness and being bold enough to turn and face it. Turn and
Wow.
face the demon. And who was talking on the show about having the dreams or maybe out of body, I don't remember what it was, and being chased by the monsters and all of a sudden turning around and just facing it.
Oh yeah, Sean Lockwood or
Mm,
Sean Leonard
yeah.
from
That
Canada.
was actually my dream.
Oh.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Oh, okay.
That was a
Of the monsters
powerful
chasing me and
statement.
turning around. Yeah.
I think you
Well,
and
I think
Sean
he did
both,
too. We were
right,
both
you
saying
both,
that.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And that's what we do when we turn and face our shadow. We turn and look at our shadow. We're facing those demons. We're saying, I'm not running anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the power, that's where the transformation begins. And Kat, you've done so much
Thank you.
that it's just like, whoa, from when I met you, and through it all, you're still stable and you're happy and you're you, and like you haven't lost yourself.
No.
That's powerful too. You might have
Yeah.
slipped a little bit this way, a little bit this way, but no, you've remained you, and that's a really powerful thing. You have
Yeah.
so much to share. And that's why I'm so glad that you decided to do this interview. I feel like I just feel like we could have 5 more hours of unlocking all this stuff. I feel almost a little bit like we're skimming over the top, and I want to get on the unpack it. And Kat goes, no.
Well, there's just, there's some levels that are just too tender to go into right
Sure.
now.
Sure.
And but I also
That'll
want
be
to
show
honor,
2.
That'll be show. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, in a year or two from now. But yeah, I know that you got to get going. I do respect your time limits here, and obviously,
Well, and you know what? I wanted to ask you one more thing that we talked about, that we had talked about and wanting to bring up,
okay.
is this this thing that is called imposter syndrome.
Oh
And
yeah,
you
yeah,
bring that up from time to time. And when you spoke of it, it was like,
yeah.
I thought I kind of understood what you were talking about, but when you expounded on it a little bit, it was like, wow. Um, and you had said, you had used the words you said, and I wrote them down because it was so cool. Is saying something about compare who you truly are with the limitations of being human, and being
Oh.
in, like, you're comparing yourself with who you truly are.
Mhm.
Talk about that for a little bit. I think it's really important that people understand.
Yeah, and Linda and I have definitely talked about this one. It's basically that thing of you have this gift, you have this ability, you have these things that you can do, but there's a part of you, because I'll talk first person. I have these gifts, I have these abilities, and I know I can do these things. And part of me, at the same time, knowing that you can do it and seeing you can do it, and then stepping out and doing it. It's the gap between knowing you can do it and stepping out and doing it. Because when you care so much, when you're so invested in serving people's needs and getting them the best information and getting them on the right path. Oh my God, you're paying me for my work. You're paying me for my gift. It has to be perfect. If I miss anything, then I've done you a disservice and I'm not a good person. And it becomes like your self-esteem is attached to how you're performing in the world. And there's no grace. There's no room to learn. You have to leap from knowing it to doing it. And if you miss anything, well, then that's what gets highlighted. That's what gets circled in red. That's where the spotlight is a part that you miss, because there's no grace for learning. There's no grace for being able to be enough where you are and make up the rest as you go and catch up later. And it is a thing where you can watch somebody who's doing what you do and they don't do it as well. They don't have as great content. The way they present isn't as good, but people are just paying them buttloads of money because they're not caught up in the imposter syndrome. They're just out there doing it because they don't have that little niggly piece that's telling them, oh, but you're not quite good enough yet. Once you're good enough, you can finally do it. That was the other thing that Linda and I were encountering, like in terms of coming out and doing a podcast. It's like, oh, well, what part needs to be done so that you're finally good enough? When will you be good enough? It will be good enough. Will you be good enough next year? Like, what if you're just good enough right now and you give yourself permission to be good enough right now, and simultaneously you're doing it for everybody else, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things with that awareness too, and being concerned about that, is it shows that you really care.
That's the thing, is you care so much, that's what makes you susceptible to imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
It's because you care about doing a good job, you care about showing up. And the people who don't have that emotional attachment can be doing less wonderful work, but don't get the grief because they're not so emotionally vulnerable to that program.
Yeah. So
I'll
anybody
add
that's
one.
go
Oh, I was
ahead.
just gonna say, I'll add one thing to that, Kat, that I know for you and I, part of that imposter syndrome is our desire to be, because we care so much about getting it right,
Mm-hmm.
being accurate, that we almost overcompensate in our perfectionism.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if we are 100%, well, when we get to be that, then we're good enough to do this.
Yeah.
And there's just no grace in it. There's no room to
Mhm.
breathe in it. It's go to 0 to 100 in a minute. If you don't, then that's on you.
Yeah. Wow. And that's just that's so beautiful to think of that too. And I hope our listeners are kind of absorbing that as well. Is, I know there's so many people out there that have classes in them and books in them and podcasts in them, and they don't step into it. And it's like, you know, really take it to heart. Oh, I feel like crying. Really take it to heart that if you are concerned about that, it does mean you care. And it also probably means that your voice needs to be heard in whatever way you're expressing it, because you are someone who really cares about yourself, the world, your content, and
your mission.
And
as somebody said something very smart to me yesterday, because I was having this issue with work, and she said, you have got to cultivate a culture of celebration within yourself for what you are doing and while you learn. Like, you've got to cultivate a culture of celebration within yourself while you're learning. And because other people aren't going to give it to you, they may or may not, but you can't depend on it. And that is what helps kind of massage that imposter syndrome, is that, again, the imposter syndrome is looking for the external to be like, did I do it enough? Was that good enough? Oh, I missed that mark. And now look at me. I didn't do it as good as Linda does it. Didn't do it as good as Michelle. Can't do OBEs like Jillian. So I must be an imposter. And it's like, God, that is so merciless. That is so without compassion, and it's blind. It's blind. You're not being true to what's really going on. You've put yourself up against an impossible measure of being somebody else that you're not born to be. Stop doing it.
Yeah. And that's what holds so many people back, is comparing themselves to others. And toxic. We don't need, it's very toxic. And we don't need multiples of the same thing.
Exactly.
We need the unique expression of each and every person expressing their little fractal that they came in with.
Mm-hmm.
And to be here in that space. And you guys, you Third Eye Salon folk, do that so beautifully. And that's why this show is so important. And each of you are so important and so precious, because you bring that and you allow that in your guests and everything too. And I want to celebrate you guys.
Thank you.
Because you guys really helped me to open up. You know, it's only been 2 months ago or so that I was on the show the first time. And now I own Third Eye Salon. I'm your overlord now. You guys are so nice. Now get out.
Okay, boundaries.
No boundaries. I'm an empath. No, I'm kidding. But no, it's just, you guys are so loving and so kind. And this show is really important. And I really want to celebrate all three of you and to thank you guys for letting me be here. This has been so much fun. And I'm kind of like, I keep looking over at Linda, like, jump in, Jillian, jump in, help. And you guys are like, we're cool.
We're cool.
You're doing a great job. And Michelle, I have a question for you. I'm going to put you on a spot. I'm going to turn the tables. Will you come back onto the show and interview Linda Coulter-Burge? Linda Coulter-Burge.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
I would love to do that if she's brave enough to face the unicorn.
Oh my God,
are you ready for this, Linda?
Wait, maybe I'll have to adopt and get. Okay, I am now ready.
Let's do it. On your mark, get set, go.
The battle of the unicorns.
Oh my God, you're awesome. I love it. I would love to. I would love to come in. Linda, we'll sit down and have a chitty chat and see what we're doing. That's so cool. Thank you. What an honor. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I feel like crying.
You can do that on our show.
My little unicorn cry. Because Kat and I have at the very beginning our 2 or 3 podcasts where we chatted with each other to try and let people know. But now it's a time to get deeper.
Yeah.
And have somebody that doesn't know each other.
That's exactly it. Like I was like, Michelle could ask questions that I'm not going to ask Linda, because we know each other so well that there's things that, you know, it's going to be a fresh voice. It's going to be a
Yeah.
fresh perspective.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because you guys have been together and you guys just have this cohesive, all three of you. And
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. I'm very, very honored. I'll
And
do it.
it's amazing for me. Sometimes Jillian's so silent, but I see her and she's just this rock of stability within this triad that just
Oh,
brings
yeah.
so much that's at an energetic level.
Yeah, she's like a beam of light. Yeah.
Thank you guys. Aw.
Yeah, you're like
Jillian, you're like holding the space.
Yeah.
You're like have your arms
Absolutely.
around just holding everybody. And even the listeners, you're just like, you're a great space holder.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. That really means a lot to me. Thank you.
You do. You know, if I were doing something in person, and I used to do a lot of things in person, you would be somebody that I'd be like, you girl, I will pay you to come to this event and stand in that corner and hold this space because you're that good at it. It's
Thank
beautiful.
you. And I
Nice.
feel, I mean, going into the mission thing, I feel like that's a big part of my mission too. I don't know in what avenues, but just to hold space. It's
Mhm.
something that's deeply embedded into my soul. So that's
Yeah.
why I say I appreciate hearing that thing.
Yeah, absolutely, girl. You need to be acknowledged because we don't all have the same mission, but our
Right.
missions all come together to make that perfect whole.
Yeah.
Again, the fractals coming together.
Yeah, weaving together.
So thank you guys so much. I know that I have notes on how I'm supposed to end this thing.
Don't fuck it up.
Give us a like. Don't piss off the unicorn, dude. You've seen the one with the unicorn that poops sparkles? That can change.
Now I'm pooping lightning bolts. Take it.
No, you guys are so amazing. And so what we want to do is just for anybody who's an empath, give us a like and also contact us, contact Kat or Jillian or Linda, even me if you wish, and make some connections. If you do feel like you're an empath, it's important to have a tribe. It's important to have places to plug in, and this show is one of the great places to do that. And get your tribe. It's really important that you feel supported. And so I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Linda and Jillian and Kat for letting me come in and take over, for giving me this place to be able to stand here and get to know more about you guys, get to learn more about you guys, and just be here to support you because I'm just so excited about your show. It's just so unique and so beautiful and so wonderful and so important. And so I'm really honored that you let me support you guys in this way. It's really cool. And so there are links in the description box of all the different things you folks do. Talk about not screwing it up.
Our
And then
Facebook
whatever.
group. Michelle's Facebook group. All of our
Yes.
Facebook groups. Yeah.
All the groups. And then we just want to say blessings to everybody. This has been a really important show too, and letting Kat really open up and sharing about the empath thing. I think it's something that's going to be visited more and more here. And also in other venues, addressing the empath and that the revolution. What do we say? That empathic revolution is the human evolution. And so you empaths out there, you're really important. You're really important in this change that we're going through. And so we all welcome you to stand up, put your hand up and say, I am an empath, and start working with us and let us all join together and be a part of this evolution.
Nice.
So thank you guys so much for being here. And we're excited. And we're going to bring Kat back too. And then Jillian, yeah, you're next, girl.
Oh, we're
gonna get Linda. Oh, I'm coming after you. Get ready.
I got mine too.
Yay! Perfect. Unicorns unite.
I just got my middle finger. That's all
There
I
you
got.
go. You can have double unicorn.
Here we are. Hello,
It's
world.
perfect.
All right. So I'll go ahead and hit the end live stream. Thank you, everyone. We love you. Thanks for being part of this. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.